$5,400 worth of work is going into this house, and the owner is not paying for any of it. The federal government is picking up the tab through Community Development Block Grants. The program has gone on in Midwest City for the past 4 years. They can improve your home by up to $7,000 worth if you qualify.
There is income limitations depending on the size of the family. An example, one household, one person living alone, the maximum gross income that they could receive per year would be $10,600. For a family of 4 would be $15,000 plus. So that is the range basically of eligibility for income.
You also must own the home, no rental property included, and it must be in a neighborhood that qualifies for the grant. All the money available for home repairs is spoken for this year, and there are others on a waiting list. However, if you want to get on the list for next year, call the Midwest City Planning Department. Ted Brown, Action 4 in Midwest City.
As far as I could tell, when I pulled him out, he was not breathing. My security guard and I pulled him out and began to give him mouth-to-mouth and artificial respiration until the rescue squad arrived.
This act would be a hit with any group of men between the ages of 18 and 50. But when some of the audience has been behind bars so long, they think Reader's Digest is racy and can bring the house down. The ladies are showgirls from Ringling Brothers, and the audience are inmates of El Reno Restraining Camp. Ringling Brothers brought a big horse dance act to prison. Acrobats, dog acts, cross-section of the entire circus. The inmates baked in the sun for 2 hours. Good sun fire.
Some folks take horseshoes as a very serious sport. To them, it's more than just a backyard game played at picnics or family reunions. These people even have their own national association. Well, horseshoe pitchers from Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas met for a tournament in Yukon today. Past and present state champs were there, along with a number of other pitchers who would aspire to greatness.
I practiced every day since 1978 except Sundays unless weather's completely prohibitive, and I dedicated myself to it and have a pipe dream of being a champion someday and maybe immortalizing myself that way.
If these pitchers become, say, national champions, then they can design their own national champion horseshoes that other shoers will use in tournaments and leisure tossing. But even if they don't become champs, they have a sport they can enjoy in their own backyard, and there are always other tournaments where they can meet with other people who enjoy a good game of horseshoes as much as they do. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 in Yukon, Oklahoma. A lot of small communities around Oklahoma City feel they are being hurt by the larger city for purposes of its own growth. But residents of Forest Park, Oklahoma are upset not only about how plans for a city sewage sludge dump will affect them, but how they will affect the northeast Oklahoma City area that surrounds Forest Park. They held a rally today to express their concern for the northeast sector and for the city's proposal.
And I feel it's an evil being pushed down our throats. And if you sit back and don't say nothing, don't call no longer on those powers that can represent you. You are the power. You are the taxpayers. You are the citizens. Stand up and you will be heard.
I just simply don't believe that, though my home is not as elaborate perhaps as are some in the Ovahosa area, that what is detrimental to the Ovahosa area automatically becomes harmless when you move it east of Santa Fe.
Our water and our independence are being threatened here by this proposed site, and that we need to do something about it. And I'm hoping that all of you will participate in doing what you can to stop this. And I'm also hoping, getting back to the point of the neighbors, that Oklahoma City will reconsider its proposed site and will realize that this is not only being a bad neighbor, but being a very bad neighbor.
This is a historic area. Forest Park, historically independent, the northeast sector, historically apathetic. The residents of the area are hoping this issue will draw them together, and they can maintain one aspect of the history and change the other. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 in Forest Park.
"95% of the wheat in the state has been harvested and is being stored in elevators." The United States Department of Agriculture says Oklahoma farmers planted a record 7.9 million acres of wheat this year. But the department says 6.4 million acres will be harvested. John Cochran says there are two reasons for the decline.
Now, the main reason of this loss is the severe drought we had in the wintertime. It thinned a lot of stands, and the crop didn't make. In addition, we had a dry April period, and that set back part of the crop in the north-central part of the state. Some farmers gave up on the crop and baled it for hay, and a total of 1.5 million acres were abandoned.
The state of Oklahoma is usually the second largest producer of winter wheat. The lowered estimate puts the Sooner State in a dead heat on acreage with Texas, the third largest wheat-producing state. Ben McCain, Action 4.
Essentially, the judge instructed us today to agree to the facts of the case, that she had in fact been admitted and participated as a Cub Scout for approximately 9 months. And it is our position that based on that, they can no longer raise the issue that she's not entitled to be a member.
here are pretty neat. When you light them, they buzz up in the air real loud.
I know, but if you look...
They're 20 cents each, 6 for $1.
It's been a good weekend for Springlake Amusement Park. A lot of people have passed through the turnstiles, but that hasn't been the case up until the 4th of July holiday. Park management has been fighting an uphill battle, trying to get people to realize the park is still there and thriving. A June 14th fire destroyed the park's arcade, and owner Dale Thomas says people got the impression the entire park had burned. Consequently, business has been slow.
It's impossible to burn a amusement park completely out. I mean, it's like trying to burn a golf course down. It's impossible. But people were misled to a certain extent on it, and it did hurt business. But we're going to come right back and fight it. We're going to make this thing work.
Thomas says about 5,000 people jammed into Springlake for the 4th of July, and he's hoping that's a sign of better things to come. Mark Pardee, Action 4, Springlake Amusement Park.
Al Lindley carried a sign today protesting the fact he can't get in to see the congressman. He has a handicapped daughter, and he's upset with the Reagan administration's plan to give block grants for education. He says unless the money is specified where to go, it'll hurt the handicapped.
He's my congressman. I live in his district. I feel that I have the right to lobby my congressman. I can't obviously send out 265 telegrams like the president did. But I have the right to see my congressman, and I want that right.
Lindley says he's sure Mickey Edwards is going to vote in favor of the block grant, and he'd just like a few minutes of Edwards' time to try and change his mind. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in downtown Oklahoma City.
They've been trying to cut down on sex on TV. People have to go out to see it.
Roxanne, 35, 23, 35.
No, this isn't a strip joint. This is serious. It's a no-frills beauty pageant. By no frills, what I mean is they aren't being judged on talent. This is the Sexiest Girl in Town contest. This crowd doesn't care if these girls can sing or dance. What they want is good old sex appeal, which is hard to define, but they know it when they see it. About 30 girls entered the contest and got a tremendous ego boost for their trouble.
Makes me feel good because I know everybody's looking at me and they like the way I look, and it makes me feel better about myself.
The 3 finalists got a little money and a chance at the title of Sexiest Girl in Town at the Toughest Guy in Oklahoma competition at the Myriad July 14th and 15th.
Contestant number 9.5.
It isn't exactly the Miss America pageant, but then they didn't have to sing any opera either. But even without the crown and roses, they seem to be just as happy with the win. Ted Brown, Action 4 in southwest Oklahoma City.
It could affect the economy of the state quite extensively if we could not obtain or replace shipments of various types of things, like avocados, for example, that we get from California. Good chance we'd be in short supply. We get a very high percent of our oranges from California. We might replace most of those shipped in from Florida. Grapefruit is shipped in from California, but Texas has some of the best grapefruit in the country. We might replace those from there. So it would be a matter then of trying to determine just how many crops would be quarantined and how much or how readily replaceable those would be from other areas as to how seriously it would affect our economy here.
A recent death attributed to rabies at South Community Hospital has kept hospital and state health officials busy the last few days. Doctors are finishing the screening of hospital personnel to determine what kind of contact they had with the patient. More than 80 workers will be undergoing rabies vaccines.
The immunization started Thursday and will be completed probably this afternoon on the first injections. It'll take 28 days from the time that the injections are started to complete the injection series. There are only 5 injections, but they're given at various time intervals. So by the end of the latter first of next month, everyone will have received their full course of rabies prophylaxis.
Patients and visitors at the hospital are not being screened. Rabies cannot be transmitted through the air. They can only be passed on by infected saliva entering the body through a skin wound. But rabies is almost always fatal, so the hospital is sparing no expense to safeguard their personnel that could have contracted the disease from the victim. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4. Hospital.
The heads of state agencies and departments gathered in the Will Rogers Auditorium for the annual meeting with the governor. Governor Nye compared his speech to one he would give at a commencement ceremony, saying all is well and the future looks good. Using different charts and graphs, the governor gave a weather forecast. He said things are sunny now, and he feels confident Oklahoma can handle any chilling effects from Reagan administration cutbacks. He cited Oklahoma's growing surplus money, low unemployment rate, and soaring energy supplies as good economic indicators. Yet in the same breath, he told the state officials to be careful.
It looks like as you prepare your budget for the next year that we can look at a strong economy and a strong, good amount of dollars to appropriate. But I want you to know that you're not to take the $310 million surplus as an indication, as I know you won't, that we're not to take that as an indication that we're just going to spend and spend. We're going to spend where we should.
Tomorrow, the governor addresses the leaders of all state boards and commissions. No doubt the upbeat tone of his speech will be evident there, too. Bella Shaw, Action 4, at the Will Rogers Building.
The determination of the chief and the staff to proceed with an investigation through our internal affairs unit with or without a formal complaint from the victim.
Mary Waters and her young daughter Casey are like many Oklahomans. They visit the farmer's market regularly. During this visit, they shop for nectarines.
How much are your nectarines?
Those California nectarines are $1.50 a basket.
Plums, oranges, and other agricultural products also come to the Sooner State from California. Since the Mediterranean fruit fly has infested that state, a quarantine has been imposed. That doesn't mean that California fruit will be embargoed. But A.W. Mason, a produce dealer for 40 years, says the fruit must pass inspection. How do you feel the quarantine will affect your business?
Well, I think it will have a bearing on it, yes. There will be a scarcity of fruit and vegetables. Due to the quarantine, I think it will get scarcer. It'll probably get higher, I don't know.
The possibility of the increase in price certainly doesn't excite consumers, but to many, eating California fruit is a way of life. And when that's the case, consumers may complain about the price, but they usually buy what they want anyway. Ben McCain, Action 4 at the Farmers Market.
According to recently released Highway Patrol statistics, Sundays are not good days to be on Oklahoma roads, at least for the month of June. Busy weekend road traffic led to 16 deaths on Oklahoma highways on Sundays in June. There were 12 deaths on June Saturdays. Overall, however, the patrol is encouraged by the traffic stats. Figures show a dramatic drop in traffic fatalities in June from the same month last year. 94 traffic deaths were recorded in June 1980. While 68 deaths were reported last month. 8 motorcycle fatalities occurred last month. That's down from 11 the previous year, and pedestrian fatalities are down from 7 in 1980 to 3 this year. The only area that shows an increase in the statistics is Oklahoma County. Oklahoma County had 12 traffic deaths last month. That brings the total for the year in the county to 82, nearly double the number recorded for half the year in 1980. Conversely, Tulsa County recorded only 5 fatalities for June, down from last year. Preliminary statistics for July seem to indicate similar decreases, and while no one can be sure what is causing the slowdown in roadway deaths, everyone hopes it will continue. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
Several years ago, federal judge Luther Bohannon ordered the 2 biggest cell blocks at McAllister State Prison closed down by this month. The judge said the safety of every inmate in those cell blocks was threatened by a variety of unsafe conditions. The Corrections Department started construction on a new cell block which would comply with the judge's mandate, but that new building isn't finished yet. So to remain in the judge's good graces, the State Corrections Department today asked for and received a 2-year extension on his order. Prison officials say they need that extra time to get things right at McAllister.
Well, it gives us a chance to finish the construction that we have started at McAllister and to be honest with the court as to how long it's going to take to do that. And it also allows us a little more time to absorb some of the numbers that we're going to lose when we finish construction at McAllister. Currently we have about 860 inmates. The new construction number will be about 525. That's 300 inmates that we've got to find some place to put, and right now we don't have a place to put them, and so the court has allowed us some time to deal with that.
Someone asked me whether we thought we'd won or lost. When you're dealing with those prisons down there, every day that goes by that they're occupied, there's a great deal of risk to the inmates, and to the extent that that situation is going to be allowed to continue, we've lost, but to the extent that some added safeguards have been put into that process, I think we have to be pleased with that portion of it.
Some of those safeguards for the 70-year-old cell blocks include fire, health, and structural inspections twice a year. Judge Bohannon told prison officials the safety of inmates is uppermost in his mind. Mark O'Neill, Action 4 at the federal courthouse.
Rescue teams responded to a call at the sewage treatment plant on Northeast 4th Street near I-35. They worked frantically trying to revive 54-year-old Arthur Brown, Jr. He had worked for the city 3 months. The accident happened when he and other workers were attempting to fix a stoppage that had occurred in a sludge pit. The supervisor had gone to get oxygen masks since a number of gases are released in the area. Arthur Brown either slipped on a ladder or was overcome by fumes. A co-worker found him at the bottom of the pit, 30 feet deep.
His absence was detected, I don't know how soon afterwards, and another plant operator rescued him. A third one was putting on oxygen gear and preparing to help when he was rescued.
Brian says there was some hydrogen sulfide in the area, but not at a lethal level. He also says there was waste and sludge at the bottom of the pit, but there was sufficient oxygen. An autopsy and investigation are planned. The man who tried to rescue Brown is 44-year-old Spencer Oliver. He suffered from high blood pressure, was taken to a city hospital, and released this afternoon. The man he tried to rescue was pronounced dead on arrival at Oklahoma Memorial Hospital. Bella Shaw, Action 4 in Northeast Oklahoma City.
After months of negotiating, police bargainers and city bargainers finally hammered out a second tentative agreement for the Oklahoma City Police today. This was the last resort before arbitration was going to be used. Although this latest agreement offers no more total money, it does offer important other concessions.
We changed about 3 items around and restructured the pay scale.
FOP President Ray Clark says it was the veteran officers that didn't like the first proposal, and that contract was soundly rejected. But now it looks like the vets will get a much better deal, and he thinks it won't bother the new recruits much.
We went with a straight percentage raise. Now, the older officers would enjoy a little better raise than the younger officers. The younger officers, believe it or not, decided that they should, that someday they will be older officers, and then they would enjoy a better increase and have something to look forward to in the future.
At first, all officers were offered $133 a month raise regardless of rank or seniority. Many officers said the proposal only helped new recruits. Here are some of the key points of the latest proposal. All officers would receive a 9% across-the-board increase, with a cap on that raise of no more than $1,700 a month. Secondly, new recruits would start at a base pay of $1,035.50 a month, rather than the current $950, which will boost their longevity pay also. Third, the city manager would have a vote on the police review board, but it would be offset by a vote also being given to the FOP representative. And finally, officers would receive George Washington's birthday as an extra holiday if the contract is approved. FOP members will vote on the contract proposal this coming Friday starting at 7 a.m. Ed Stewart, Action 4, Police Headquarters. We've heard for weeks on how the FBI taped conversations of county commissioners taking 10% kickbacks from building suppliers. These tapes have made the difference in at least the trial of one county commissioner. You're about to listen to a conversation between Blaine County Commissioner Orville Pratt and Midwest City building supplier Guy Moore. Moore is working with the government and has a hidden microphone in the room. What you'll hear is Moore counting out the kickback money to the county commissioner. And you'll hear Moore talk about the unwritten law of paying commissioners kickbacks. The scene is the county commissioner barn.
You don't have to worry about paying for anything like this till after you get some money. Well, I like to do it, and then when I get that check, it's mine. And it's hard to get you out by yourself, you know, anybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 100, and what else? 16, $157. For a long time, I wouldn't take anything, really. Finally, you know, I got to know who was who. In fact, I bought a new Caterpillar blade pretty quick. They come around and offered me $300 and I looked at it. But I didn't know, you know, whether you would or whether you wouldn't. I never had told you, but it's kind of a law that's been handed down, or an unwritten law or something, and says I have to do it.
Well, there wouldn't have been anything said. I mean, I knew you'd pay it if you could, you know. If you couldn't, you couldn't.
The end result was Pratt was sentenced to 7 years in prison. The next county commissioner to go on trial should be J.P. Dick Richardson. Ed Stewart, Action 4.
Just those folks. Too much, yeah. Time for all this stuff to cease.